Having crossed safely over the ridge where they believed the Kiowa scouts were watching, the Sioux rode desperately to reach the ravine before daylight. There was not a moment to spare. Dawn was flushing the eastern sky when they finally encountered the first Cheyenne scout. They stopped, and White Otter imitated the bark of Tukola, the little gray fox. "You have come back, it is good," cried Painted Weasel. "Yes, it is good," White Otter told him. They ran the ponies toward the ravine. The Cheyennes were overjoyed at their safe return. They gathered eagerly about them to learn if they had reached the Kiowa camp. "Cheyennes, Red Dog is alive," White Otter told them. "We saw him in the Kiowa camp." "It is good," cried Running Crow. "My brothers, you have done a big thing." The Cheyennes were beside themselves with excitement. Their gloom vanished. Their hearts filled with hope. Having learned that their chief was alive, their one thought was to rescue him. They realized, however, that it would be foolhardy to make the attempt before night. The thought suddenly sobered them. The delay suggested alarming possibilities. They began to have doubts. "Perhaps the Kiowas will kill Red Dog before the night comes," they told one another. Aroused by the thought, some of the warriors made reckless proposals to attack the camp at once. The majority, however, talked against it. "We must wait," Running Crow told them. "If we let the Kiowas see us, they will kill Red Dog before we can help him. I do not believe anything will happen to him before the night comes. Come, White Otter, you are the leader. Tell us how you feel about it." "My brothers, we must wait," declared White Otter. "I do not believe the Kiowas will kill Red Dog before the night comes. I will tell you how I feel about it. I believe the Kiowas are getting ready for a big talk. They will tell their people about the great fight. They will dance and sing the war songs. Then Red Dog will be in danger. I believe they will bring him out to kill him. I do not believe they will do anything until it gets dark. Then we will be close to the camp. We will rush in and carry away your chief. Pretty soon I will tell you how I propose to do it. You must wait until I tell you about it. If you do anything foolish, Red Dog will surely die. Now I will tell you something different. My brothers, we found the ponies. The war ponies are in the Kiowa camp. The other ponies are outside with the Kiowa ponies. We will run off the ponies when we carry away Red Dog. This will be a big fight. I know that all of you are brave enough to go through with it. You must also be sharp. We must fool the Kiowas. Then they will not kill Red Dog before we get into the camp. I believe some scouts are still watching over there on that long hill. I believe they will go away before it gets dark. We must keep hiding in this place until they go away. Now I have told you what I have to say about it." His words made a favorable impression upon the Cheyennes. They were convinced that his plan offered the only hope of saving Red Dog. They were eager to learn how he proposed to overcome the Kiowa camp without sacrificing the life of the Cheyenne chief. White Otter showed no inclination to tell them. "My brothers, White Otter is a great chief," said Running Crow. "A great chief does not tell what he is about to do. You must wait until it is time to go ahead with this thing. Then White Otter will tell us about it." Day had dawned, and the sun was appearing above the plain. Most of the Cheyennes crept to the top of the ravine to watch for signs of the Kiowas. They wondered if scouts were still watching on the distant ridge. There was no way of learning. The day was well advanced when the Cheyennes discovered a band of animals on the summit of the ridge. They studied them with eager attention. The distance made it difficult to identify them. Some thought they were ponies. White Otter and Sunbird disagreed with them. "He-ha-ka, elk," said the Sioux. "Yes, yes, it is true," agreed Running Crow. The animals were moving slowly along the ridge. Their appearance convinced the Cheyennes that the ridge was free of foes. They believed that the Kiowa scouts had returned to the village. "The way is clear, it is good," said Running Crow. "Perhaps they are watching close to the camp," White Otter told him. Then he called Sunbird and Little Raven into the ravine. "My brothers, I have some words for you," he said. "Pretty soon the day will pass away. I have been watching for our people. Now I do not believe they will come in time to help us. Perhaps the Cheyennes took a long time to go to our camp. Well, we cannot wait. We must go ahead with what we came to do. Red Dog is our friend. We must try to help him. I am about to do a big thing. I will ask you to help me. There will be great danger. Perhaps we will be killed. You are Dakotas. You are brave. I know you are not afraid to die." "White Otter, I will go with you," said Sunbird. "Yes, my brother, I will go," Little Raven told him. "It is good," declared White Otter. "Now I will tell the Cheyennes about it." He asked Running Crow to summon his tribesmen. They hurried into the ravine and assembled before the Ogallala. "My brothers, I have called you here to tell you what I propose to do," said White Otter. "The day has almost gone. Night is close by. We must get ready. Listen to my words. When we go to fight the Kiowas, it would be foolish for all of us to go together. If we do that, the scouts will find out about it and tell their people. Then Red Dog will be killed before we get to the camp. There is only one way to do this thing. We must make 3 war parties. Now I will tell you about it. I am going to make Running Crow a leader. He must take some warriors and go away first. Running Crow and his brothers must circle far around and come up on the other side of the camp. I am going to make Standing Bull a leader. He must take some warriors and go away next. Standing Bull and his brothers must circle around and come up on the side where the ponies are. I am going to make Painted Weasel a leader. He must take some warriors and go away last. Painted Weasel and his brothers must ride straight ahead to the camp. All of you must send scouts ahead too. Watch for the Kiowas. You must watch sharp. If you let them find you, we cannot help Red Dog. When you all get close enough to shoot an arrow into the camp, you must wait. When Painted Weasel is ready, he must make the cry of Ma-ya Shush, the wolf. Then Painted Weasel and Standing Bull must lead their brothers ahead. You must make a big noise. Standing Bull and his brothers must run off the ponies. Painted Weasel and his brothers must go to the camp. Now, Running Crow, listen sharp. When you hear that noise, you must bring your brothers to the other side of the camp. Do not make any noise until you are close. Then rush ahead. While you are all doing these things, Sunbird and Little Raven will go with me into the camp. We will try to save Red Dog and lead away the war ponies. You must come fast, my brothers, or the Kiowas will kill us. Each of you must do as I have told you to do. Now, my brothers, I will ask you how you feel about it." "White Otter, you have given us great words," declared Running Crow. "I believe you have told us how to fool the Kiowas. You have asked me to be a leader. It is good. I will keep your words. Yes, my brother, I will do as you have told me to do." "It is good," said White Otter. "My brother, You are a great war leader, said Painted Weasel. If we do as you tell us to do, I believe we will save Red Dog and run off many ponies. I will keep your words. I will lead my brothers close up to the camp. We will make a big fight. We will try hard to help you. It is good, White Otter told him. Great Chief of the Ogalalas, I have listened to your words, said Standing Bull. They are good. I believe it is the only way to do this thing. I will keep your words. I will lead my brothers to run off the ponies. It is good, said White Otter. Well, my brothers, I see that you all feel good about this thing. It makes me feel big. Having learned the plan of attack, the Cheyennes looked forward to the fight with enthusiasm. They crept up the ravine and watched impatiently for the day to pass. They glared fiercely into the east, and murmured boastful threats against the hated foes in the distant camp. Hi! Hi! Pretty soon we will show the Kiowas how to fight, they cried, savagely. When the purple evening shadows finally settled upon the plain, the war leaders called the warriors into the ravine, and began to select the men who were to accompany them. The Cheyennes watched with intense interest as Running Crow and Painted Weasel and Standing Bull went about making their selections. All were famous warriors who commanded the respect and admiration of their tribesmen, and the latter had little preference between them. Then White Otter suddenly called Running Crow. Running Crow, I believe Painted Weasel and his brothers will have the biggest fight. He said, the Kiowas will run out that way when they hear the noise. Painted Weasel must take the most warriors. You will also have a big fight, because you must rush into the camp. You must take many warriors. Standing Bull will run off the ponies. I do not believe he will get into the fight. Standing Bull must not take so many warriors. It is true, agreed Running Crow. I have told my brothers about it. Painted Weasel is calling the most warriors. Standing Bull has called only a few. It is good, said White Otter. When the selections had finally been made, each war leader made a short, fiery address to his warriors. Their words roused the fighting spirit of the Cheyennes. They made it plain that they hoped to wipe out the sting of their recent defeat and take full vengeance upon the Kiowas. My people are very mad, Running Crow told White Otter. They will make a big fight. Darkness had already fallen, and White Otter determined to reconnoiter the plain before the first war party left the ravine. He sent White Horse and Red Crane and Fighting Wolf and Sitting Bear to look for the Kiowas. White Horse and Red Crane advanced toward the distant ridge. Sitting Bear circled toward the north. Fighting Wolf rode toward the south. The Cheyennes waited anxiously for them to return. Sitting Bear came first. He said he had ridden far out over the plain but had heard or seen nothing of their foes. Then Fighting Wolf rode in. He, too, declared that he had failed to find the Kiowas. It was a long time before White Horse and Red Crane arrived. They said they had searched carefully along the ridge, but had failed to locate their enemies. It is good, said White Otter. Now we are ready to go ahead. Come, Running Crow, call your warriors. When Running Crow and his companions were ready to depart, White Otter addressed them. My brothers, you are going into great danger, he warned them. Perhaps you will have a hard fight. Running Crow is a good war leader. He will take you into the Kiowa camp. Then you must try to save your chief. When you get away, come here and wait for your brothers. Do what I have told you to do. Do not try to do anything different. Go, my brothers, Red Dog is waiting for you. White Otter, we will keep your words, Running Crow told him. When we hear that great noise we will rush ahead. It is good, said White Otter. They rode silently from the ravine, and cantered away toward the south. White Otter listened soberly as the hoofbeats of the ponies gradually died away. He knew that they were staking their lives on his ability as a war leader. He realized his responsibility. Failure meant death for Red Dog, disaster for the Cheyennes, and disgrace for him. He drove the thought from his mind. I will do this thing, he murmured, fiercely. Standing Bull and his warriors were impatient, and eager to depart. White Otter held them back. He waited until he believed that Running Crow and his companions were well on their way before he finally sent away the second war party. Standing Bull, you must run off the ponies, said White Otter. There are only a few of you. Do not try to get into the fight. Keep the ponies going. Make a big noise. I will do as you tell me, replied Standing Bull. After they had gone, White Otter called Painted Weasel. Painted Weasel, you are a brave scout and a good war leader, White Otter told him. I have seen you fight the Pawnees. I have seen you fight the Kiowas. I know you are brave. That is why I made you the leader of this war party. You will have the hardest fight of all. You must follow us to the Kiowa camp. You must wait close by until we have time to get into the camp. Then you must give the cry of Ma Ya Shush, the wolf, and rush ahead. Make a great noise. Try to frighten the Kiowas. Perhaps you will find us at the edge of the camp. Perhaps the Kiowas will hold us in the village. You must try to help us carry off Red Dog. White Otter, you are my friend, replied Painted Weasel. I have seen you do some big things. All of these warriors know about you. They will be very brave because you are here. I will keep your words. We will fight hard to get Red Dog out of the camp. It is good, said White Otter. Come, my brothers, we will go. They mounted the ponies and rode from the ravine. Then they cantered slowly across the plain. White Otter and Painted Weasel rode in front. Sunbird and Little Raven followed close behind them. Then came the gallant Cheyenne fighting men. They rode along in grim silence. When they had crossed the second ridge, White Otter stopped them. Now, my brothers, we must leave you and go ahead, he told Painted Weasel. Hold back until we have time to reach the camp. Then go ahead. Be cautious. Now send someone with us to hold the ponies. 2 young Cheyennes rode forward to join the Sioux. Then White Otter led his little company toward the Kiowa camp. They soon saw the campfires flickering between the trees. When they drew nearer they suddenly heard sounds which aroused their fears. The Kiowas were shouting and beating the war drums. White Otter listened uneasily. It is bad, he said. The Kiowas are dancing and singing the war songs. Red Dog is in danger. There is little time. They rode faster. When they finally came within bowshot of the camp, White Otter stopped and dismounted. Sunbird and Little Raven also dismounted. Then they left their ponies with the Cheyennes, and hurried away. They kept farther to the southward than they had gone the previous night, for White Otter was anxious to conceal himself nearer the center of the village. Now, my brothers, I will tell you what to do, he said softly. When we get to the edge of the camp, we will look for Red Dog. Then we will look for the war ponies. I will ask Sunbird to go with me to help Red Dog. I will ask Little Raven to creep into the camp and lead out the ponies. Now we will go ahead." The plain was shrouded in darkness, and they crept to the border of the camp without being discovered. Then they looked upon their foes. The Kiowas were seated about a great fire in the center of the village. They had ceased dancing, and were listening to a warrior who appeared to be relating some thrilling experience. The Sioux felt sure that he was describing the battle at the Cheyenne camp. They took little interest in him, for their one thought was to discover Red Dog. He was not in sight. They felt relieved. They were within a few bow lengths of the lodge into which he had been taken the previous night. In the meantime, Little Raven had discovered the Dakota ponies. They were tied before a lodge, a short distance on his left. He touched White Otter and pointed toward them. White Otter nodded understandingly. Little Raven crawled away into the darkness. A moment afterward, the Kiowa finished his boastful tale, and received a noisy ovation from his people. The Sioux smiled. Then another warrior rushed into the circle and drove his tomahawk into a painted post near the fire. The Sioux were familiar with the ceremony. They knew that the Kiowa claimed a coup for some daring feat which he had performed in the fight with the Cheyennes, and was about to tell his tribesmen of his valor. As the speaker drew the attention of the Kiowas, White Otter seized the opportunity to creep closer to the lodge in which he hoped to find Red Dog. When he was within a bow length of it, he stopped and placed his lips to the ear of Sunbird. "I believe Red Dog is in this lodge," he whispered. "I am going to creep up behind it. Follow me." They crawled cautiously forward until they were at the rear of the lodge. Then White Otter placed his ear at the bottom of the lodge cover, and held his breath to listen. All was still. He signaled to Sunbird. He, too, lay close to the ground and listened. In a few moments he shook his head. He had heard nothing. They believed that Red Dog was alone in the lodge. The thought filled them with joy. The warrior was still telling his boastful tale. The Kiowas were silent. The Sioux believed their opportunity was at hand. They drew their knives and began to cut the lodge cover from the stakes which held it to the ground. Then they were suddenly interrupted by the shrill neighing of a pony somewhere at the other end of the camp. The warrior ceased speaking. The Kiowas cried out excitedly. The Sioux turned to each other in dismay. "Run around the other side of the lodge," cried White Otter. They separated and circled the lodge. Two warriors were coming out with Red Dog between them. The Sioux shot their arrows, and the Kiowas fell. Before the people in the camp realized what had happened, White Otter had reached the Cheyenne chief and freed his arms. Then he drew him toward the edge of the camp. The Kiowas rushed forward. Sunbird fought desperately to hold them back. Then the cry of Ma Ya Shush sounded from the plain. The Kiowas stopped in alarm. A moment afterward the night rang with a wild din that filled their hearts with terror. They heard their foes advancing on three sides of the camp. For an instant they crowded together in panic. Then the warriors ran for the ponies. They heard them thundering across the plain. They saw a dim, shadowy form dash into the camp and disappear with the Sioux war ponies. Then they heard the Cheyennes yelling at the edge of the village. The Kiowas rushed forward to drive them out. At that instant another company of horsemen entered from the opposite side of the camp. The Kiowas became demoralized and fled wildly before their foes. The Cheyennes swept into the camp. "Come, my brothers, here are the ponies," cried Little Raven, as he joined his comrades at the border of the village. The three warriors who had waited with the ponies had already come forward. Red Dog mounted and raced away to lead his warriors. The Sioux followed close behind him. The Kiowas had abandoned the camp and were fleeing across the plain. The Cheyenne victory was complete. They had overcome their foes without losing a man.